On today's podcast, I had Joe De Sena on. Joe is the founder of Spartan Races. He owns the Tough Mudder brand. This guy has done over 10 million people through his events. It is absolutely crazy. His company this year is going to do over $100 million in revenue from all the events. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But this is one of my favorite podcasts I have ever done. We talk behind the scenes of what it's like running that big of a business, what it was like going through COVID, trying to just deal with all your events getting shut down. And you guys will not want to miss basically the things he had to go through in order to get through that really tough time. But speaking of tough times, we spend a good chunk of the podcast talking about what it means to be tough and why it is so important for you to go through hard things, not only for yourself, but for also your children to make sure that they go through hard things to get built up. I can tell you firsthand, a lot of my success has been built through going through the most difficult times in my life, not making money, having to work hard, being stressed out. All of those things have helped me get to the next level. They've helped Joe get to the next level and build his business. And there's a big reveal at the end that you don't want to miss about retirement and our thoughts on that. So all that being said, make sure you watch till the end. Now, let's jump into it.
Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where our mission is to invest,
I only expect to make money in things that I understand.
innovate,
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past.
and inspire.
I am much more likely to hit my goal just due to putting it out there.
You're now rocking with the best.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Pineda Show. Today, I'm actually standing for the first time ever on my podcast because I'm with a dude who is known for making people tough and doing hard things. And so he challenged me to stand this entire podcast. I've got the host of the Spartan Up podcast, the owner of all of the Tough Mudder and Spartan events that are just taking over the entire world. None other than Joe De Sena. What's up, man?
What's up? Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, so appreciate you coming out to Vegas, dude.
Well, I'm not a gambler, but it's kind of cool to come to Vegas every once in a while. And you're awesome. Heard about you, and I got to learn from the new youngsters that are coming up. You know, I'm like a Flintstone. You're a Jetson.
And there we go. Well, dude, we were talking pre-show just about Tough Mudder, and I've never done an event, and after talking to you pre-show, I definitely want to do one now. But with the events, man, I want to dive deep into how you even started that company. But since a lot of people listening are business-minded, a lot of them want to know behind the scenes of like what running a company like that looks like. Like how many employees do you guys have? How many events are you running a year and all that?
You want to get into how I started it first, or you want to get into?
Let's jump into the numbers just to get people excited.
Yeah. So it's big. We'll do 350 events in a year. Now that we're coming out of the pandemic, that'll quickly grow to 500 events. It's 45 countries. There'll be 1.5 million registrations per year. They're paying somewhere between $100 and $150 for a registration. And hopefully they buy a hat and a t-shirt and a couple other things along the way, pay for parking.
Yeah.
So it's, look, it's not Tesla, but it's a big business.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying 1.5 million people will register and they're paying, call it $100. I mean, that's $150 million a year.
That's 150 million, and there's 600 people to pay. And insurance, as you can imagine, is incredibly expensive. So unfortunately, when you look at the margins, it's a very thin margin business. But unlike other businesses, I get 10 emails every day that say, hey, I'm back with my husband, I'm back with my wife, I lost 40 pounds, I gave up drinking, I no longer do drugs. So we don't only get paid in dollars, we get paid in, life changes.
No, that's so awesome. So you guys have obviously grown to this massive company holding events in, 45 countries, almost an event per day on average, 9 figures and changing lives. It's crazy. How did you even get to this point? Like what made you start this whole vision of the Tough Mudder and all these events?
So it's a crazy story. So if you ever saw the movie Goodfellas, ground zero for Goodfellas is where I grew up. Very Italian neighborhood, people doing lots of bad things, going to jail, etc. My mom's mom gets cancer in the early 70s. My mom goes to a health food store. There was probably one health food store in the entire East Coast back then in the early 70s. There were no Whole Foods, there was no Yoga Journal, no.
Yeah.
She walks in, and there happens to be a yogi who just landed at John F. Kennedy Airport that's in the health food store. He's like 85 years old. And she starts talking to him. And he convinces her to become a vegan right there on the spot. Give up the cannolis, give up the raviolis, right? And she's going vegan.
Yep.
She's going to start meditating. She's going to start doing yoga. This all happens in a span of 2 hours in a health food store, 1973. That guru, and then a bunch of other people she met, eventually formed a running race in Queens, New York that still exists today. It's called the Transcendence Run.
Okay.
It goes around a 1 mile block. You cover 4 corners. It's 1 mile, 3,100 times.
Whoa.
50 to 60 days in a row of running around this block.
So you just like run as much as you can day one, go to bed, do it again.
Sleep in your car, get up, start running again, 50, 60 days straight. As a young person, young kid, my sister and I, we see this, right? We see my mom starts running. She's meditating. She fasts once in front of us. She fasts for like 5 days, then 10 days no food, then 30 days no food.
Wow.
Right? So we start to see what the human mind is capable of, extraordinary feats of endurance. And fast forward, I don't really want any part of it. I want to be like a wise guy, and I want to make money, and I want a Cadillac and a roll of $100 bills in my pocket. But she's trying to push this different life. And eventually, after she dies, she got cancer. After she dies, I woke up, and I started to realize that it's not all about money.
How old were you at this time?
30s, mid-30s, so 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 27 years ago. And I found yoga, finally, right? And I found health food. And then I found adventure racing. Now, what the hell is an adventure race? So pre-Tough Mudder, pre-Spartan, there were these races that were fairly popular. And when I say fairly popular, they'd be like 100 participants, 200 participants. They were typically 350 to 500 miles long. Mm-hmm. And if you and I were competing, we'd throw on our backpacks. It would be self-supported, and we would run, kayak, bike across Switzerland.
Right.
The entire country. Mm-hmm. We'd go over mountains, we'd go through streams, etc. So I became enamored with doing those events. I felt alive. Completely transformed me. Wanted to just have water, food, and shelter, no longer chasing the shiny objects. And from that, I said, gee, I wonder if I could turn this into a business. Mm-hmm. And that's when this was born. This was born 22 years ago in the year 2000.
2000. So what would have been the first event? Like, how did you go about it?
First event I put on was the wrong format. It was called Expedition BVI. It wasn't called Spartan or Tough Mudder. It was called Expedition BVI. I was in the British Virgin Islands. I got 100 participants, and it was 350 miles long. And
wow.
It was swimming.
That's an extreme event.
It was an extreme event. It was, which is why I only got 100 participants. Right. But coming from somebody who saw a 3,100 mile race in Queens, New York, 350 miles seemed normal. Like I just didn't have the right format for the environment. Anyway, I put on this race, and I lost a guy. Guy was in a dinghy. One of the people that worked for us was in a dinghy. He went to start the engine. Nobody noticed. Engine didn't start. Storm rolled in, and he drifted away.
Wow.
8 days later, when the race was over, and everybody's popping champagne, great job, high fives. We didn't make any money, but the race was completed, right? They noticed that this guy that works for us is missing. And I'm like, what? Like, now you're telling me? Not 8 days ago? Well, we didn't know. We thought he went to this other island. And so we start digging. We had the Coast Guard involved. They lay out the maps. They said, well, if you last saw him here, we're going to take our choppers. They found him. He drifted 150 miles to Little Tobago. He survived on the island alone, eating crabs and bottles of water that had also drifted to the island. Sports Illustrated did a whole story on it. True survivor. And somehow I'm a glutton for punishment. I should never have put on another event. But I put on another event. And 10 years later, finally, I figured out a format where, thousands of people would attend.
Yeah, like it's not 350 miles.
No, we shortened the distance against my own better judgment, and now we have 3 miles, 8 miles, 13 miles, and people tend to do all three to earn their trifecta.
Okay.
And it's extremely popular. And like I said, we went from 100 participants to 1.5 million participants a year.
Wow, that's crazy. So you guys have all these different brands and events. Like, what would be the difference between a Tough Mudder event versus maybe something else?
Yeah, so the idea, if you know Louis Vuitton owns a house of brands,
Yep.
right? And so whether you're buying this pocketbook or this set of jewelry, they own it all. And we want to be the Louis Vuitton of hard shit, right?
I love that.
It doesn't matter if you want to do a trail run. We own the toughest paddleboard race in the world in Hawaii called M2O. We own the toughest mountain bike race in the world called La Ruta in Costa Rica. And so if it's hard, if it makes you want to die, it's probably us.
Yeah.
Right? And the difference in those examples are clear. One is mountain biking as a discipline. One is trail running as a discipline. We've got a fitness discipline called DECA. But when you look at obstacle racing, Tough Mudder versus Spartan, Spartan's more of a sport. We recently found out that it looks like it's going to be in the Olympics in 2028 in LA, which is amazing.
What is the sport? Like, tell me.
The sport is you're running, let's say, those 3 miles, and along the way you're facing 25 obstacles.
Okay.
And you can envision the military if you and I joined the military today. We would have to do a confidence course or an obstacle course during our basic training. And so it's time, you're competing with others. And it turns out pentathlon, which is a very old sport in the Olympics, was having trouble with the equestrian side of their sport, and so they're replacing that with obstacles.
Wow.
And so we've been working on this for 7 years now. I made a big announcement to the press years ago that we are going to be an Olympic sport. I had no idea how.
It was just a vision.
Just a vision, and I said it over and over and over, hoping that something would happen, and it's happening.
That's amazing.
Tough Mudder, on the other hand, not an Olympic sport, much more of a sport of camaraderie. You and 300 friends are getting together and getting through it.
Right. Getting dirty.
Getting dirty. If you're having a tough time with an obstacle, that's okay. Spartan, we are holding you accountable. If you can't do an obstacle, you're doing 30 burpees.
Oh.
Which nobody wants burpees.
No,
So,
burpees suck. That's crazy. I love just the aspect of doing hard things. I remember, like Andy Frisella has made it very famous with 75 Hard of just like, dude, whether it's good for you or not physically or whatever, it's like the mental game of just doing hard things. The moment you accomplish something that's super difficult, you're going to be that much stronger later on.
You grow calluses on the brain, right? You know better than anybody calluses on the hand, right? You grow calluses on the brain, do hard shit.
Yeah. It's funny because you, pre-show, you had these glasses and you're like, dude, these glasses are making me soft, essentially.
Right.
My eyes don't have to work as hard.
That's it. Get rid of the glasses.
Yeah. But it's true. I mean, like, you don't get muscles and strength by just sitting on the couch chilling. You get it by doing hard things, pushing hard weight.
So let me get this straight. You can't sit in front of Netflix and watch hard shows like Game of Thrones and it doesn't make you tougher?
It definitely doesn't. No. You have to go out and do hard things.
You got to actually do it. That's what drives me nuts. There's such great shows on Netflix people love because deep down inside, they wish they were doing that. Get off the fucking couch and go do it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. So to this point, I mean, you guys have thrown, how many events at this point, do you think?
Oh my goodness. I'm winging it here, but it's got to be 1,300 events by now, 1,400 events, because we didn't start out at 350 events, right? We started out with a few.
Yeah.
God, quite a bit.
I mean, from the business perspective, logistically, how are these 600 employees doing that many events in that many countries? Because you said they're always on weekends too, so it's like you're holding like 10 events on a weekend.
Yeah, I would say what we're really good at, incredibly good at, is the logistics of putting on an event. I'll give you a crazy example. So in Rome, Italy, we had an event planned, and we typically need like 2 weeks to get everything organized, set up the obstacles, lay out the course. The Pope decides while we're supposed to be setting up that he's going to anoint a saint during those 2 weeks. He shuts us down. We go from having 14 days to set up to having 14 hours.
Yeah.
Clearly, we should just cancel the event, but my team didn't want to. In those 14 hours, somehow, they got the whole thing done. And so I would say, a lot of CEOs, a lot of founders will get on and say, "Oh, my team's unbelievable." Our team is unbelievable at putting on events. Unbelievable, second to none. I don't even know how they do it. You asked me, I was like, I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, we're throwing one event. by the time this airs, the event will probably be right around the corner. September 26th, 28th, anyone wants to go, Mandalay Bay. But there's so much work that goes into throwing that one event. There's so much promotion. There's so much logistics. I'm like, how do you simultaneously promote an event every day? Like, it's crazy.
It's crazy, and somehow this team of rock stars does it, and they not only do it. Like in Mandalay Bay for you, there's probably not going to be a hurricane going on inside.
No.
There's probably not going to be a pope that decides to shut. Like we have to deal with outside influences that are a nightmare, and somehow the team does it, and
you got different governments, different everything.
Mudslides, rain, hail, snow, like they just get it done.
But that's also the beauty of your event is like, hey, if that comes, that's part of the experience.
And that's you bring up a great point. Our customers over the years, they have a really difficult time complaining to us.
Yeah.
Because we're asking them to get outside their comfort zone, to grow a pair, to get it done. And so if parking is tough that day, or there's mud, or whatever might happen, like they
How's your customer service team? Are you guys, do you just like
suck it up?
Yeah, like we don't feel bad for you.
Right, suck it up. That was planned.
Yeah, if you're complaining,
right,
you ain't fit for this.
Go watch Netflix.
Yep. Dude, I love that because that would solve all customer service issues with that model. I love it.
And we have an amazing customer service team, but we definitely have an advantage over other companies.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. So tell me about, you talked about conditions that you can't control. How was COVID?
COVID was a disaster. So what I'm about to tell you is not believable, but started this thing back in 2000, 22 years ago. The first 10 years, I was simultaneously working on Wall Street. So I was making money and I was
What were you doing on Wall Street?
So I had a small firm. We had about 50 traders, and we traded for the banks. So the Goldmans, the Merrills, the Morgans, Credit Suisse.
Were you just doing like the high frequency trading stuff, or what were you doing?
A lot of high frequency trading stuff, a lot of risk arbitrage, index arbitrage, and so those folks that wanted to buy giant blocks of equities or derivatives, we were the traders that handled it. We took a tiny little fee, but that tiny little fee added up.
In volume, it's a lot.
The volume added up. So I was able to afford messing around, losing people in the British Virgin Islands. I was able to afford that because I had this other business. In 2010, I pulled the plug on Wall Street. I said, I'm just going to focus on this. We changed the name to Spartan, and all of a sudden it started to work. But when I look at the last 22 years, I lost money for about 15 of them. I literally lost money for 15 years, right? From 2000 to 2015. 2015, we start making money. By 2019, we're on top of the world. We acquire our competitor, our formidable competitor, Tough Mudder.
Oh, so Tough Mudder was a different company.
They were a tough competitor. They were smarter than us. They were faster.
So how did you guys acquire them if they were?
The opportunity came up in 2019, and we took the opportunity.
Okay.
And the founders had stumbled a little bit. A lot of business owners do. They focused on themselves and pulling money out for themselves before the business, and they got their balance sheet turned upside down. But we acquired them. We expanded into trail and DECA and mountain biking and paddleboarding, like I said. We're on top of the world. 22 years in the making. Well, at that point, 19 years in the making. Pounding my chest, ready for more press, and COVID hit.
You just said just acquired your biggest guy, and now
COVID
hits.
And we got shut down in 45 countries. We furloughed 500 people. We lost $50 million. $50 million, which I didn't have. It's a lot of money to lose.
Yep.
And that wasn't the worst part of it. The worst part of it was actually the restart. Imagine having a dormant factory that accumulated a bunch of rust and sand in the gears, and then all of a sudden, overnight, you got to turn the thing back on.
Hey, you 500, we need you again.
500, we need you again. Insurance, we need you. Oh, 350 venues around the world we got to pay for. Like, incredibly expensive, incredibly hard to do. And so this last 9 months of coming out is actually worse than being shut down.
Wow. If you're listening to this podcast, then my guess is you're interested in real estate investing. Some of you are just starting out, while others are trying to scale their business to the next level. But the problem is, with so much information out there, most people don't know which program or coach to trust. Well, I'm a bit biased, but I believe my company, Future Flipper, can help you get to the next level. We've coached thousands of students from all over the world on how to build their real estate investing business. It doesn't matter whether you want to flip, wholesale, or buy rentals. Our coaching program has everything you need to become a great investor. There are many things that we include with coaching, but to give you a few examples, you're going to get an accountability coach. These are people that have had success in their own business, and they want to make sure that you achieve success in yours. We also have all of our documents, our systems, and processes that I've used to buy hundreds of homes. You can copy and paste them directly into your own business. And we have events where you get to meet me, top-level guest speakers, and other students who are crushing it. My students do deals with each other, and I personally do deals with them too. In fact, at a recent event, I just honored over 20 people in our program that made over $1 million in the last year. So if you want to grow your real estate business, head over to futureflipper.com and apply for a call with our team. The call is completely free, and they can help point you in the right direction whether you work with us or not. So go to futureflipper.com and book your call today. For the last year, the real estate market has been on absolute fire. Prices are at all-time highs, interest rates are at all-time lows, and there is more money in the economy than ever. But with so much competition, many investors are sitting on cash, struggling to find great deals. If this sounds like you, then you need to invest with Pineda Capital. With my network and social media following, we get access to the best real estate deals all over the country. And if you're an accredited investor, you can invest with me on those deals. In fact, last year we purchased a 334-unit apartment complex in Georgia for almost $20 million. We expect it to be worth well over $30 million when it's all said and done. Our goal with each deal is to build in so much equity from the beginning that we're able to refinance our investors' cash out and own the properties together with little to no money into the deal. And the best part is, you don't have to do anything. Our team will find the deals, handle the renovations, get them leased, and eventually refinanced or sold. All you have to do is provide the capital. So if you want exclusive access to our deals before they hit the public, go to PinedaCapital.com to schedule a call. We can put your money to work today to start getting you great returns. So go to PinedaCapital.com now to get access to our deals. That's crazy. Just because of everything that has to go back onto turning the machine. That's what I've told people, just in our industry, right? Like, real estate was, a lot of people thought was just going to fall off a cliff during COVID. They're like, everyone's getting laid off. Nobody can buy a house. This thing is going down, right? And a lot of people laid off people. They stopped their marketing. They stopped everything out of that fear. And I was like, dude, first off, and just as a real estate investor, I was like, I don't believe it's going to cause that. I think this is all temporary. But I also know that if you just let everyone go and you turn off your marketing and everything, to your point, turning it back on is literally so hard. Those people found other jobs. People have already forgot about you. Like, it's always like this quest to just stay relevant and adapt to whatever. But when you're in an event business during a period where you cannot have an event, period, it's illegal.
No.
What do you do?
And imagine, put yourself, and I'm not asking people to play the world's smallest violin here, but imagine at that point in time when the world shut down, we had already sold almost 400,000 entries, right? It was early March. It was March. I already sold 400,000 tickets. Those people were trained. They had their plans, their plane tickets, whatever it was to go do those races. They wanted to kill me.
Yeah.
I didn't shut the races down. The government shut the race.
Yeah.
They wanted to, you had to see the emails coming in. They wanted to burn my house down.
Yeah.
Right? And then to take care of them somehow and remain relevant, to your point, we said, okay, we're going to shut everything down. We have no choice. We're not going to shut down media.
Okay.
We're going to hole up on our farm in Vermont. We're going to have a couple of cameras going, and we're just going to produce media all day. I did 4 live workouts a day during the pandemic. I started at 5 in the morning with a warrior call around, like every single day, to try to keep some sanity and just stay in front of everybody.
Right.
So that part, thank God, we were able to come out of. It's the actual logistics and manufacturing side that's been challenging.
Right. So, I mean, obviously, turning the machine back on has been challenging. But to this point now, where you are today, how are things?
Well, the business itself is looking good. Like when I look at actual races we're putting on, you're getting to 7, 8, 9,000 people attending the events. The balance sheet is a disaster.
Right, because you have to come back from all that.
I got to come back from all that. I accumulated a ton of bills. I feel like a complete deadbeat, but we're fighting through. I had one venue, 30 days after the pandemic struck, when everything got shut down, 29 days after, calls me, venue owner. We're not even late with our payment yet. It's only been 29 days.
Right.
If I don't get paid today, I'm sending some Italians to your house. I said, what are their names? Because I'm Italian, I probably know them.
It's Tony.
It's the only vendor.
Yeah.
Amongst all, it was the only one, and I will not forget that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, especially during that time, man. But hey, that's the tough thing with business. You can just never predict, what could happen. And, there's always something around you that it's out of your control. And that's just is what it is. And there's a lot of event businesses that just went bankrupt,
I mean, Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
Cirque du Soleil went out.
Dude.
They've come back in a smaller form, but they were much bigger than we were. They were much more well-known than we were, much more capitalized than we were.
Right.
Look at it got decimated. There's a great saying I just read recently that said, look, it's very hard to pass people in the sun. When you're driving and it's sunny out and the roads are clear, very hard to pass people. But in the rain, it's a little easier. And so to your point, it was raining. It was hailing. And so as long as you hung on, which we did, we passed a lot of people. Mm-hmm. A lot of people fell by the wayside, right? Probably in your business too.
100%. 100%. During that time, did you think about man, how could we reinvent ourselves beyond just events? What can we do can sustain us digitally maybe?
No, I mean, we had no choice. Our whole business became digital. 95% of our revenue went away. So it wasn't like I could make up the difference in digital anytime soon. Virtual races were cool for a moment.
Right.
But people want to be physically back together. So could we sell more clothing? Sure. I think the Spartan name lends itself to being a great brand. Could we do courses and stuff? Absolutely, we could do that. But right now, I gotta get obstacles back to 45 countries, and I got a lot of fish to fry right now.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about that. You as the CEO of this entire Spartan enterprise, what does your day-to-day look like?
I got to do a little of this. Every once in a while, I got to get on the road and go meet folks like yourself.
Yeah.
I got to do PR. I got to get out there and show my face and tell the story, because human beings don't know. Most human beings don't know this. The number one motivator for human beings is the avoidance of discomfort. It's not sex. It's not drugs. It's not food.
Nobody wants pain.
No one wants pain. That is the number one motivator for a human being. And I'm selling pain. Right? I'm not selling comfort. I'm not selling I'm selling pain. And so so my day is a lot of this PR, convincing people to take on the pain in order to level themselves up. But then it's just also answering questions. I probably took 20 phone calls this morning before I got here of what are we doing with this? What do we, as a business owner, what are we doing with that? And what I ask my team to do is just lay it out for me where there's a question.
Yeah.
And I could just give you the answer. Yes, no, left, right, up, down.
Right.
Right? I don't want to talk about it. Just, what are we doing here?
Yep.
Otherwise, you guys figure it out, make your own decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of that. Not a lot of internal battles between we don't have much of that. Tons of emails, tons of texts. Yeah.
You also run your own podcast that you've been doing a long time. Tell me about that.
We run a podcast, Spartan Up, the podcast. Been doing that for, I said to you, maybe it's 7 years now.
Tell everyone how you got started with that.
I wrote a book called Spartan Up. And my friend Zach Evanash, who you should have on your show at some point, he's a great guy. He said to me, Joe, you want to promote your book? You got to go on a podcast. I said, what's a podcast? He said, there's these guys, Barbell Shrug. They do this big podcast, CrossFit community. Everybody knows them. And they want to come to Vermont. And they're going to interview you for the book. I said, great. So they come up to Vermont. We had an awesome day together. And at the end of it, I said, why don't we do this?
Yeah.
We had fun together. There was a camera, and we were answering questions. And so we started the Spartan Up podcast that next day. And every week, God, it feels like 7 years. It could be 6 years. I don't know. We've interviewed all kinds of cool people. And the folks I like to interview are folks that are just going to help me be better. Like, what are you going to teach me? If you're a neuroscientist or a biologist or whatever you may be, what can you inform me of that's going to make me and my audience better?
Yeah.
Could even be a mobster. I mean, I learned a lot, believe it or not, from wise guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. So Yeah, you guys have grown tremendously with the podcast. You're interviewing these guys, learning and everything else. I mean, it's, for me anyways, I feel the same about this podcast. I've been asking you all these questions of like, dude, tell me like, what is it like running an event business during COVID? What's it like managing 600 employees? I don't have that. You know, what does a guy in that position do all day? And it's super interesting to hear, like, you know, from people who are further along than you.
Or different, or just in a different place.
Yeah, whatever it may be. And just that way, it's like, man, that could happen to me if my businesses relied on just maybe one revenue stream. You know, that was the majority of it. How could I diversify my businesses so that if something pops, you know, we're still going to be okay over here?
Well, you know, it's funny. You don't remember, a lot of folks that are probably younger listening to you, they don't realize that, like, when I was growing up and I was running a business at a very young age, I didn't have this opportunity to go on podcasts or interview people, or like you'd be lucky to get to a successful person that was willing to talk to you.
Right.
But today, by doing this, you know, I've spoken to 600 plus people.
Yeah.
That have given me little tidbits of information to make myself better, my company better.
Yeah.
So
we were actually talking about that. I was just, you know, this is going to air a little later, but, you know, I just released my NFT project, Tykes, and then you told me you're launching an NFT project too. Want to tell us about that?
Which nobody knows about except for you and your audience now. But somebody should probably know about it.
Well, by the time this launches, I think you'll have started to promote it now that I've kind of been talking
Exactly.
to you. Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea is, this is going to blow you away. The idea is we've got all these brands and all these locations all over the world.
Right.
But we've never sold a season pass. We've never sold a pass that allows you to go do all those events. We sold a Spartan pass in the United States where you could just do Spartan events. But imagine being able to do Spartan or Tough Mudder or DECA or Trail or La Ruta with one pass. And then we said, well, how would we manage that pass? Well, let's use blockchain.
Yeah.
Let's use an NFT to do that. And then we said, this is what I get most excited about. And then we said, every cult needs a temple. Mm-hmm. We are a cult, right? A healthy cult, just like Harley Davidson's a cult or Lululemon's a cult. We are a cult.
Yeah.
I mean, last we recorded over 40,000 Spartan tattoos on people, right? So
That's crazy.
It's crazy. So where's our temple? Well, our temple is in ancient Sparta, Greece.
Right.
Right? That's what we're connected to spiritually. Mm-hmm. And so they want us to build, the city's been begging us to build a giant monument. Imagine a 35-foot high steel statue of a Spartan helmet, surrounded by 300 tombstones, representing the 300 who died, oddly enough, 2,500 years ago. This is the anniversary year. And then we said, wouldn't it be cool, I know it'd be cool for me, if I could put my ashes, my remains next to the 300. Like anybody can go to some boring cemetery in Vegas or Queens or wherever, right, and be next to their family. I want to be in Sparta next to the 300 for eternity.
That's crazy.
So not only do you get this pass to go do any event anywhere in the world, but you got your plot in ancient Sparta next to the 300 forever. So your great grandkids could go check out. Now, there's more relevance there, right? Like I say to myself, the 300 really changed the world. When we think about our government in the United States, like that, the way the Spartans operated influenced the way the US operates right now. And when we think about the Ukrainians going up against the Russians, you hear them referred to as the modern day Spartans. So that idea of 300 going up against 10,000 or 100,000 people, good against evil, small against big, is a big idea, right? And so I want 15,000 people that become part of this NFT project to think about it this way. We're extending this thought another 2,500 years. Like we're carrying what the 300 did for us, we're continuing on for the next generation. So it's much bigger than
just attending all the events.
Yeah, it's much bigger than that.
Yeah.
But I get really excited about it because that's the part
Yeah, and you showed me some behind the scenes. I think it's an amazing idea. And you didn't even mention how long the pass is for.
So this is really, I mean, you're obviously smarter than me when it comes to this stuff. So normally you sell a 1-year pass. When you think about Vail Resorts, when they sell a ski pass, it's for a year.
Yep.
So we said, let's make this ridiculously successful. Let's give people up to 9 years. But they've got to attend our one special event each year in order to extend. So if you don't attend that event, then you're not really bought in.
You're not in.
You were a speculator. on the sidelines. I don't want speculators. I want
the
people that are
in.
they're all in.
Yep.
And if you're in, it'll extend. And so imagine, by the way, imagine me filling your calendar for the next 9 years.
That's crazy.
Right? Now you got a reason to go to the gym, to go to bed early, to drink the green juice.
The people who buy in are going to have life change.
There's no doubt. I mean, we know we change lives with one event. I'm changing your life for 9 years.
Yeah. And the cost ain't going to be much for what we're talking about.
It's too inexpensive. So we're talking about possibly doing a supply and demand thing. So as demand goes up, maybe the price would rise, or maybe not, because the other thing we want is for somebody to be able to trade it.
Yeah.
And say, hey, you know what? I got my money back. I got 2 years out of it, and I traded it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the beauties I love with NFTs is, especially when you have so much utility behind it like that, where, hey, you know what? You went to it for 2 years, you freaking got a ton of stuff out of it, and then all of a sudden you can go sell it, and it's like you got all that for free. You might even have made some money when you go to sell it.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. So I think
I just have to figure out the part I haven't figured out yet, and maybe you can give me some insight here. I guess it's the first purchaser gets their name chiseled in that stone, right? Because I can't keep sending stonemasons out there changing the name.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah,
Right?
that's what I would do. And, you know, there's obviously always there should be something more beneficial to being an early adopter, right? Versus people who buy in later. The people who buy in later are still going to get a ton of value, but to be the person who mints, I think that is a great perk.
Awesome.
So you're not trying to buy it in the aftermarket and get a better deal.
Right. You lose that.
Yeah, like you have to buy it direct from me. That we need your information and everything for you to be on this.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
Most people want to get rich at all costs. They make sacrifices with their family, their health, and their faith, all in the pursuit of money without even realizing it. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be that way? What if you could grow your wealth in all areas of life? Well, it's possible, and that's why I created The Wealthy Way. It's a community of people striving to grow together in all areas. And we have multiple tools for you to use that are completely free. You can get access to the Wealthy Way Planner, where you can set goals and hold yourself accountable on a daily basis. We also have our Wealth Builder Academy, which is over 4 hours of content teaching you how to manage your time, create the right goals, and all the biggest secrets I've used to grow my life, not only in my net worth, but in all aspects. Lastly, we have our Discord community where thousands of wealth builders are all over the world encouraging one another and growing together. And once again, all of this is completely free. There are no upsells, there are no hidden catches. For me, this is a passion project, and I want to build a community of like-minded people. So if you want to start living the wealthy way today, go to wealthyway.com. There you can get all the free resources like the course, planner, and Discord community. So go to wealthyway.com.
So let's talk a little bit about mindset, because that's what you talk a lot about in your podcast, and I can tell that's what you're passionate about, just getting stronger mentally. What are your thoughts on just the event itself and how that changes your mindset?
Yeah, when I think about my own life, right? Growing up in that neighborhood, the way guys made their bones was they went to jail. That was their college. Whether somebody did a 5-year bid, a 10-year bid, 30, there's guys still in jail from when I left the neighborhood. And I questioned myself, like I'm sure all young boys would, like, could I do this? Mm-hmm. Could I go to jail? Am I tough enough? And so it's been something I've been wrestling with forever. And I don't think any of us, not even Mike Tyson at his height, I don't think any of us think or get to a place where you are. I think you're always wrestling with that because the mind wants to avoid discomfort, right? And so how do we help people become a little tougher, a little stronger? Well, for me, it's been consistency. It's been whether I want to do it or not, I got to do that thing in the morning, that workout, that cold shower, that ritual,
right?
And get a streak. So it's not that I do it for 2 days and take 2 weeks off. I do it every fucking day.
Yep.
And when I'm able to look back, that gives me confidence. Like, wait a minute, I did it even when I didn't want to do it.
Right.
And so the next time I face that tough challenge, it could be running 100 miles. It could, whatever that thing is where I want to quit, I'm able to fall back on that consistency, on that confidence. So, so I would say that's where I get my ability to overcome. Why does a race do it? How could a Tough Mudder event or a Spartan event make somebody tougher? I think it does a few things. I think it instills that consistency because once you sign up, and again, I've had 10 million people sign up for events. Once you sign up, you start going to bed earlier, you start waking up earlier, you start drinking the green juice, you put down the glass of wine, you don't eat the cookie because you're scared out of your mind that 3 months from now you got a fight on the calendar, right? Without that fight on the calendar, you're not doing the work.
Yep. Yep.
So there's a ton of work and homework that gets done leading up to the event. And then at the event, you're challenged.
Yeah.
And you want to quit.
Yep.
And you want to turn around. And you can't breathe. And you're sweating. And you're wrestling. You're meeting yourself in a mirror, by the way. You're finding out what you're made of. And somehow you get to the finish line. And you're a new person.
Yeah. So I'll share this. You know, people, especially when you start to have success and, you know, you do all these successful things, people are like, you know, what keeps you motivated? What pushes you to the next level? And I'll tell you, for me, I am super motivated by new challenges that I've never done. You know, flipping houses, it's easy. I'll do that on autopilot, you know, and once a business gets going, cool, easy, autopilot. When I was first getting started, you know, the hardest thing I ever did was play minor league baseball. I was telling you this before, like I was making $1,200 a month, having to figure out how to survive on that, while also every single day going to a job where somebody else is trying to take your spot and you're trying to just grind it out, get to the big leagues. You play 140 games in 150 days. It is really hard. And it's not a 1 day hard thing. It's a 6 month hard thing. And then to your point of prepping, the other 6 months, I'm just prepping for the 6 months of death, right? And that built me up into who I am today, where now, dude, I haven't missed a workout in 10 years where it wasn't like I woke up and I'm like, I don't feel like working out today. That's not even an option. It's just I wake up, I work out.
Like brushing your teeth.
That's who I am. And I've stayed the same weight for 12 years. I've stayed in shape even though I don't play anymore because it's just ingrained in who I am. Now, physically, that's one thing which I think Tough Mudder and Spartan will obviously help you do as you train. You're going to get physically better. But mentally, what that's done for me in my post-career has been insane. You know, when we have bad days at the office, when we get screwed on a deal, somebody quits, when a customer's pissed, when a house falls out of contract, when, you know, a launch doesn't go as good as we hoped, when we spend all this money on marketing and it flopped. I don't sit there and I'm like, poor me, this sucks. I'm like, hey, that's life. What are we going to do to overcome this challenge? You know, give me the problem and let's go. Like, I want to solve the problem.
You know why?
Why?
Because you practiced hard.
Yeah.
People practice piano, they practice math, right? But they don't practice hard. You practiced hard.
Yeah.
All those years, you were getting ready for this.
Yeah. And I didn't know it at the time.
Right.
But like, yeah, dealing with just constant stress on the body and in the mind was something that, you know, when you have 5,000 people in a stadium watching you every night and like they're just waiting for you to fail, they see you strike out, they see you make an error, and you just are like, that is what it is.
You gotta toughen up.
You gotta toughen up. You know, they're gonna boo you, they're gonna whatever. Oh well, you can't take it to heart. All you can do is get to the next pitch, the next play, whatever else. But
keep moving forward.
You keep moving forward, and I think that's what so many people lack is they just don't do hard things, like you said.
Yeah, look, so the analogy, if you had the choice and you could have a child grow up in a greenhouse, in a perfect environment, gets watered on time, fed on time, perfect temperature control, or your child can grow up on the side of a mountain where it's got to wrap roots around a rock and hang on for life while the wind is blowing the storm. Like, which kid is going to do better in the real world? Of course, the one that wasn't in the greenhouse, that grew up on the side of the mountain.
Yeah.
And so I have friends that row rowboats across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
And before they row a rowboat across the Atlantic, they go out in the North Sea and they practice in really tough conditions.
Right.
They don't go to the British Virgin Islands and hang out on the beach.
Yeah.
They're getting ready for what they're about to do.
Yeah.
And we as parents and we as teachers and we as a society have screwed this whole thing up. We give everybody a trophy right now.
Yeah.
We don't prepare them for hard. We make sure no one's feelings are hurt. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. Stupid. So stupid. Yeah, I think I've read a lot of books on parenting too as well, because you see it with businesses, right? Like you and I have built successful businesses. And so a lot of times we want to make it easy for our kids because we're like, oh, I went through the hard stuff, so you don't have to. That's like the common thing with successful people. It's like, no, they have to go through hard things too. And so I've been constantly thinking about that. My kids are young. They're like 3 and 2. But I'm like, how do I make them go through hard things? Because they're going to grow up in a really nice house. They're going to go on nice vacations. And, I don't want to just make them have a terrible life, but how do I instill difficult times for them?
Well, you met the right guy.
Tell me.
So I wrote a parenting book. It's called 10 Rules for Resilience.
Okay.
It came out, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And my wife was afraid because we don't know, like, if the methodology we're using, if it's going to be good or bad. You never really know.
It's a theory.
And somebody said to me many years ago, you're going to have many choices with your children to go hard or go soft, and always go hard. Now, I would say, if this was the 1700s, if you and I were doing this podcast in the 1700s, I would say we probably want to go a little easier because life was hard. Every day they were standing in, horse shit. Yeah. The kids were dying at birth. Mm-hmm. But in the life we live today, it's so easy, certainly in the first world where we are, and especially in your house or my house or anybody that's able to pay their bills, right? It's so easy that we have to choose hard. And so what we did is going to seem very unorthodox, and I'm sure some people are going to call social services on me. But what we did was at a very young age, we said, I said to my wife, I wonder if we can get a Kung Fu master to live with us.
Okay. Where's this going?
There was a scene in Kill Bill with Uma Thurman where she's trained by a Kung Fu master. And I said, I wonder if we can get a Kung Fu master. My wife went for it. So I somehow procured a Kung Fu master from China to move into our house, our farm in Vermont. And this Kung Fu master, for 3 or 4 years, every morning, woke the kids up, 5:30 in the morning, trained them in the barn.
This was not like a little thing to like, this was a really long-term thing. Okay.
And every night at 5:30, Kung Fu master trained them. And he only spoke Mandarin, no English, so they had to learn Mandarin at a young age. And they weren't his kids.
Yeah.
So he was a lot tougher on them than I would be or my wife would be. And thank God we had the barn next to the house because this was all going on in the barn. If it was going on in the house and my wife heard the kids whimper, she would have never went for it. No mom would have went for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it started to toughen the kids up. It started to get them they became a little more athletic.
Yeah.
They became a little more flexible. They started to learn Mandarin. And so I quickly said, we need to manufacture adversity in their life because they live in a nice house.
Yeah.
They have food whenever they want. And so we got to make things a little tougher for them. If it's cold out, we got to go out with them.
Yeah.
Right? If it's raining, we got to go out in the rain.
Yeah.
We can't give in when they say, there was a year where I took one of my sons was being difficult. I had Santa leave all his presents at the top of the mountain for Christmas. So all the other kids woke up and they had presents on it, but because he was a pain in the ass, little feety pajamas, boots, 2-hour hike up the mountain and to go get the presents, right?
Yeah. Then you got to bring them down.
I got to bring them down. So anyway, we started to just manufacture lots of, every once in a while, turn the hot water heater off in the house.
Wow.
Right? We're doing cold showers. They don't know. They don't, oh, it's broken. I lied to them.
They could just go look at the knob turn.
So I would say privilege, which is what you're talking about, is actually a negative
I agree.
for kids.
I agree.
And if you want your kids, there was an ancient Spartan saying, better than us. The job is to make your kids better than us. If you want to make them better than us, they have to struggle.
Right.
And so my wife and I are constantly making them struggle.
Yeah. No, I love
We
that.
moved them around the world, by the way. We literally, hey, you know what? We're becoming too complacent on the farm. We're moving to Asia. Right? We moved to Singapore. That became too easy. We're going to Tokyo. Now they got to figure out Japanese. Right? They're joining a swim team. They don't swim. So what? They're on a Japanese swim team now.
Yeah.
Right? So the harder it is, the more we throw them into it.
How old are your kids now?
My oldest is 16. My youngest is 9.
How do you think it's played out all these years of doing it?
Look, I think if you put my wife or her family in a lineup next to me and you let them loose, they're not coming to me because I'm not Mr. Fun.
Yeah.
Right? Grandpa, grandma, they're getting them ice cream or whatever. But I'm not my goal wasn't to be their friend.
Yeah.
My goal was to prepare them for life.
Yeah.
So I think now my oldest, who's getting ready for college and sees the benefits of what we did now, I didn't even tell you, I gotta tell you, he's now look, my mom was tough on me.
Yeah.
I did not like her. I liked my dad. My dad was easy on me.
Right.
Fast forward, I'm 27 years old. I'm like, oh, my mom was right. My dad was wrong. Everything my mom. So like, it's going to be one of those things, I hope, where when they're 27, 28, 30, they're like, Dad was right.
I see why he did that.
Yeah, you know? And so we're not looking to build friends here. We're looking to build adults.
Yeah.
But I didn't tell you, my 8-year-old ran the Boston Marathon when he was 8. Now he's 16.
How, is he the youngest participant? Like,
I had read that there was another 8-year-old that had done. So no, I had not that year, but many years earlier. And it's not something, you can't even sign an 8-year-old up. So we had to start after the start line and we had to finish right before the finish line. But he got it done.
yeah.
His brother at 7 ran New York Marathon. His sister at 6 ran one of our beasts in Indonesia. So, and I'm not pounding my chest and saying, oh, what I'm
These
saying.
kids are beasts.
Well, no, what I'm saying is a human being, our species, is capable of so much more. Everybody listening to this, we're holding our children back.
Yeah.
Oh, a kid can't walk to school alone. Kid can't do.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think no matter, like that is, by the way, great advice for us parenting. We have to manufacture adversity. So I'm going to think about that as they get older.
No, you got to start now.
Start now.
You got to start now.
What would you do for a 3 and a 2-year-old?
You got to get them to crawl further than they would have crawled if they're crawling. Walk further than they would have walked. We're climbing stairs. Oh, Dad, this is too hard. My daughter, my older daughter, when she would get out of bed, it would be 100 burpees. And she would cry, Dad, it's too many. Don't get out of bed. I don't know what to tell you.
All right. My daughter's actually a lunatic. She would be like, okay. She's like crazy. But yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think as adults too, we need to always push ourselves to do new things that are uncomfortable, we've never achieved before. You spoke about fasting earlier. I just finished a 5-day fast about a month ago.
Nice.
And it was a spiritual fast. And I'd never gone 5 days before, just pure water, no sups or teas or anything. And man, it was just great mentally, spiritually, everything, just going through that and putting my body through it. And it was great. I had another goal. I started golfing last year because I was just feeling like I was missing that competitiveness that I used to have playing baseball my whole life. And I'm like, man, I got to get back into sports. Like, I got to do something competitive. And I'm like, I suck at golf. I'm building a house on a golf course. I want to be the best golfer at the club. And I remember putting that proclamation out there, and people were like, dude, you're crazy. You don't just learn. People play golf their whole lives to be good. And I was like, well, most people ain't me, and I'm going to be the best. And I made it a goal that, by basically this year, I wanted to be able to shoot 72. I wanted to shoot par, starting from a guy who was in the hundreds. And sure enough, last week I shot a 72.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's big.
Yeah. And so now, as you know, when you hit a goal.
Now you're going up against Tiger Woods? Or
what's the next goal, right?
Right.
And so now the next goal is like, I want to compete in some like pro-am stuff and just see where it goes. Like that's the next step. And, I consistently now want to start shooting 72s consistently, not one time, but I want to just keep pushing myself to the next goal.
Yeah, complacency kills. And what you're saying is just never become complacent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say for somebody who's very successful in their field, okay? Who doesn't have to deal with a lot of pain because they're having success. They've already gone through the pain to get to where they're at. Like nobody has a ton of success without going through pain, number one. But there are people, including myself, who say, you know what? I've achieved what I want. Like now it's time to kind of chill and enjoy it. What do you do? How do you stay motivated?
One thing that drove me crazy as a kid was to see these successful guys, successful monetarily, start smoking cigars, drinking, get fat, and die at 56. I'd be like, I don't understand. Why can't they apply some of the things my mom's teaching and still do the business stuff? Why can't you make money? Why can't you have it all?
Right.
And it requires the opposite of what you just said, right? You can never rest on your laurels, which, by the way, is a very old saying for a reason.
Yeah.
Once you start resting on your wins, there's a lot of risk. Kodak, you might not remember, Kodak was the biggest company, the world's greatest brand in the world, and they became complacent.
Yeah.
They went out of business.
Yeah.
And so my message would be, the world is not a place that like stops and recognizes that you're so great, we're going to leave you alone, and you're not going to trip. Or no, you don't get to just hang out.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a stop along the way. So enjoy it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And throw your cleats back on and get back in the game.
Yeah. You know what's funny is, so I'm a Christian and I talk about my faith a lot. And if you ever watch my content, I never talk about retirement, even though so many people in the money space, the finance space are all preaching, yeah, like let's retire early, let's travel, what's your financial freedom number? Let's get enough passive income, all this stuff. And you'll never hear me talk about it because for one, and I have a Bible study every Wednesday. We just had it last night. I tell all of our guys in there, they're all successful business people. I go, where in the Bible does it say that you should go retire and chill? Just point it out to me. It doesn't say it anywhere. It says you are always going to be working. You're always going to go through persecution. You're always going to be going through these trials, and it ends the day you die.
I'm so glad you're telling me this because I went to Catholic school and I'm not as devoted as you are, but I should be. And I get asked 1,000 times, like, hey, Joe, what's your exit strategy?
Yeah.
And my answer off the cuff has always been death.
Yeah. That's what the Bible says.
And so I'm so psyched. Maybe I picked it up in Catholic school. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, that's awesome.
Yeah, because I get asked the same thing. They're like, when are you going to stop making companies? And like,
Right.
when's enough? And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Enough will be enough when I die.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that I'm going to start businesses and I'm going to keep trying to make money. It's just like the challenge becomes something new. Okay, what's the next challenge? Okay, well, let's go dominate this charity. Let's go dominate giving away everything that
If you're not growing, you're dying.
And that's to your point of great companies, great people. The moment you decide you want to stop working and stop doing what you do, you die. You get fat. Your health deteriorates. Your relationships deteriorate. You lose your purpose. You lose something that drove you for this many years being successful.
I was lucky. We didn't talk about it, but in that neighborhood at 13 years old, I started a swimming pool cleaning business.
Right.
And they were most of my customers were mobsters. And by the time I graduated college, I had 700 customers, 700 houses where I cleaned their pools, where I could walk into their house, I could grab something out of the refrigerator. I had that kind of relationship with my customers.
You were cleaning them all yourself.
Well, I had people,
Okay.
but I always got to know the customer first, and then somebody under me
Yep.
would come in afterwards. And the reason that was incredibly powerful was I got to see which families operated the right way and which operated the wrong way. I saw the ones that got fat, lazy, complacent, went out of business. I saw the ones that cheated on their wives, cheated on their husbands.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the ones that got into drugs, the ones that screwed up their kids. And I just, like Bruce Lee, I kept saying, ooh, I'm going to take a little of that, I'm going to discard that.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, across those 700 households, which is a pretty big study, informal study, right? The ones that just relaxed and put their feet up typically ran into trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, because, the world is changing around you, and the moment you don't, like you said, you're flexing your eye muscles. The moment you stop doing that, your eyes will get weaker.
Yeah.
The moment you stop lifting weights or doing hard things, you will become mentally, physically weaker. And there's no amount of money you can pay
To get it back.
to get it. I don't care how rich you are. You just can't do it.
Yep.
There's no substitute for hard work.
Well, that's why we got to get everybody out to a Spartan or a Tough Mudder with you.
Yeah.
No charge,
Okay.
right? We should probably do it for charity.
Okay.
If people want to donate or whatever.
Yep.
But I want 300. You curate 300 folks
Okay.
around you to one of these events, and let's wake people up.
Dude, I'm with it. So you guys heard it here on the podcast first. Joe's going to give us 300 tickets. I'm going to figure out who's my freaking 300 going to be. We're going to rally up. Which event do you think we should do?
Well, I mean, you're in Vegas, so it should either be Vegas or Arizona. We got an event coming up in Arizona in November. We'll see if that works for you. You figure out the best date.
Okay.
But something this year. I think you don't allow people a long period of time to decide. You give them, they got to make a decision, right?
Yeah.
Because the worst decision is indecision.
Yep.
And and then you start training them up.
How do I, because if I just say, hey guys, sign up, 300 people sign up like that. How do I make sure these people are going to show up? What do you think?
It's tricky, right? We get about 90% show up. Typically, a lot of grandmothers die the night before an event. Oh, sorry, my grandmother died. What you got to do is get them to send you a video that I'm in and I will be there.
Okay.
And anybody that doesn't show up, you're posting that.
Yeah, and
right?
we're shaming you.
We're shaming them. So I think you got to do that. I think they send you an email. You get it all, and then we'll figure out a way to get.
I'll make them pay, and we'll give it all to charity.
Give it all to charity, and they don't have to pay.
So
whatever. If somebody, don't hold back. If somebody doesn't have the money,
right,
take them in.
Okay.
But most people will give you the money for the charity.
Yeah, just to have some kind of skin in the game.
Yep.
Okay, guys, you heard it here first. So when you see me announce, that I'm going to do one of these Tough Mudders or Spartan Races, and I'm bringing my 300 with me. If you want to be one of those 300, definitely comment below right now. Let me know, and there's going to be more news about that. So, dude, Joe, I appreciate that. I'm about to have a lot of fun with it. I'm excited for the challenge. I appreciate you coming to Vegas and seeing me. I'm inspired to go work even harder and test myself, and I appreciate the advice on parenting as well.
Your kids are not going to appreciate that advice.
No, they're going to watch this podcast years from now and be like, it was that guy. That guy ruined our lives.
I know.
And then they'll be like, I'm glad I met that guy.
You're the man.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, guys, make sure you subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Peace.
Thanks for watching The Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to work with me, head over to ryanpineda.com. You can find my courses, coaching programs, and upcoming events. We also have free resources you can download, so head over to ryanpineda.com.